The Real Deal Show. Brought to you by eBodyboarding.com and Tribe Boards. Hey everybody, Jay Reale coming at you, Real Deal Show time. And I've done a lot of Real Deal shows since 2020 or 21 when I started the Real Deal Show. I should know that year. But this show is the youngest guest I think I've ever had on the show. This is 15-year-old Drake Kinghorn. Put it there, buddy.
Thanks for having me, Jay.
You got it, brother. So if you don't know who Drake Kinghorn is, you're about to find out. He is one of California's top young bodyboarders. He's had experience also on the IBC World Tour, done a couple events on that tour. We're going to get into all of that stuff, but I wanted you to get into the mind of this young guy. There are not a ton of young bodyboarders in California these days, and we want to certainly promote the sport to younger riders and kind of get that generated again. But first of all, Drake, 15 years old, you're from San Diego.
Yeah.
Where in San Diego exactly?
La Jolla.
Okay, so La Jolla. Yeah. So what would your local spot be down there?
Probably Blacks. I mean, I kind of go up and down San Diego. Just it depends on the day when the waves are good, but yeah, mostly Blacks, I'd say.
Okay, so now because you're 15, you don't have your driver's license yet, you're obviously relying. Do you live close enough to walk to the beach?
No, I don't live close enough to walk, but it's about like a 10, 15-minute drive to the beach. It's not too bad.
So your parents are taking you to the beach most times. So I would imagine, given that information, your parents are probably pretty instrumental with getting you into riding waves. Tell me how that all started.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of always grew up at the beach, like from probably when I was like 6 or 7. Like my parents would always kind of take me down to the beach, and I actually didn't really used to be a big fan of it. Like I didn't really want to go because the water was cold. But and then I don't know, my dad was telling me about my uncle Brent and like how he used to bodyboard, and I kind of like saw him doing it one time, and it kind of just got me hooked from there. And
so we're talking about Brent Cole.
Yeah.
Yep, who's a legend
Shouts
guy
out.
from my era.
Yeah. But, and then probably just from then on, I used to have a little group of buddies that we just kind of go to the beach every day and just bodyboard, have fun, you know, like weren't very good at it, but, you know, just having a good time together, just not spending the day at the beach.
Now, your brother, you have a twin brother, Tanner.
Yeah.
And was he bodyboarding at the time as well with you?
Yeah, he actually, so it's kind of like funny story. I kind of wanted to start off surfing. So like I was surfing and he was bodyboarding, and then I kind of switched over. I guess like, I don't know, all of his friends were surfing, like, oh, get off the boogie board, you know, just like get on the surfboard. And
no kidding.
Then I stepped down to the bodyboard because kind of the waves that we were surfing, I was like, dude, I can just get way more barreled on this, you know, like
that's
more fun doing it.
That's really interesting that one of you surfs, one of you bodyboards, and you switched. You used to do the opposite. I've known a few sets of twins that are the same way. In fact, from back in the day, Caven and Stephen Okamura. Caven is one of the legends of the sport of bodyboarding. His brother, Stephen, was a really good surfer. Yeah. And then, you know, there's been other sibling groups like Danny Kim and his brother, David, was a really good surfer. Danny was a great stand-up bodyboarder. So, yeah, there's a lot of that. My brother was a stand-up surfer, and I was a bodyboarder. So, yeah, a lot of that goes on in families. It's almost like siblings, they don't want to be doing the same thing because they don't want to compare each other's skills. But is Tanner a pretty good surfer, would you say?
Yeah, especially as of recently. He had a pretty bad injury, but after that injury, he's been surfing every day, and you definitely see his progression. Yeah,
and we're going to get into the injuries because you've had some injuries as well. And part of that stems from the fact that how tall are you?
6'3", 6'4",
okay,
somewhere around there.
6'3", 6'4". So these chairs are definitely lying. He's sitting really low in his chair. I'm 5 foot, probably 5'7". I'm shrinking now. So these guys are super tall and lanky, which may or may not benefit their bodyboarding. But what I wanted to get into next is, you know, what about bodyboarding is really attractive to you? You said you just really like to get barreled. Is that kind of the main thing that you love about the sport?
Yeah, and I kind of think just like from the beginning, just the feeling of like riding waves, like whatever it was, like surfing or bodyboarding, it just like there was just something about bodyboarding. I just had more fun doing it. Like I guess like my introduction to it was pretty good. Like it was always like I didn't really in the beginning ever have like a negative experience bodyboarding. So it kind of just always like I always liked it.
But you can surf. I've seen you on surfboards. You're pretty good at surfing as well. So I think it's always good to have multiple tools in the shed.
Sure.
You know, like in your car, you keep a surfboard or a bodyboard depending on the waves. But yeah, gravitating to bodyboarding, you know, there's certain maneuvers because we had you guys at our Texas Tube Tour last May, and you guys were absolutely going bonkers out there. Is there any one maneuver that you really love to do in bodyboarding?
I think there's like a couple, but if I could choose one, it's probably the invert. I mean, because I think you can do it on a variety of sections. You can do it out the bowl, you can do it on the closeout, and you don't really have to do it on a big wave. So it kind of just, I don't know, I've always liked doing inverts.
So along those lines, is there a type of wave that you love to ride that enables you to do the kind of riding you like to do? Lately, you've been hitting up the wedge a lot, I've noticed. Yeah.
Honestly, just the wedge. I mean, like, you can kind of like, I think it's kind of just a glorified closeout, but on the certain day, like, I mean, you can get barreled out there, you can get a ramp, and it's like a skate park for bodyboarding.
Yeah, that's what a lot of guys say, of course. And I know you've been hanging up there. In fact, you just came before we did this interview here. And by the way, it's the last day of April 2025.
Black ball.
Yeah, the black ball starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
But that means bodyboarders get kicked out of the wedge at 10 a.m. So you took advantage of it today. You were out there with Lincoln, Presley, and who else?
Hunter Schoonover.
Yeah, so two other Southern California young bodyboarders that really rip and charge at the wedge. And you said you were out there for a few hours just trading off, having a blast out there, right?
Yeah, it was just super fun. Like, kind of, it wasn't really too big, but I mean, it was kind of closer to the jetty and the corner bowl. So it was just like super shallow, like fun little barrels, like just trading off, having a good time.
And what would you say is the biggest day you've had at the wedge so far in your bodyboarding life?
Probably this year's opening day or last year's opening day. I'm not really too sure, but I mean, this year's opening day was pretty big. Like the way that the side wave was coming into it, I think kind of when I was out there, I didn't realize how big it was. But when I went back to the clips, I was like, oh my God, like it was huge out there. Like the way it was just like going up to the top. I mean, the peak of some of those waves was probably like 15 feet.
Oh, solid. Yeah, I saw some pictures of that. And I was down on the beach for the Fred Simpson tribute and saw some mutant waves. So yeah, it was for sure some 15-footers out there. Have you taken some heavy beatings out there yet? Yeah,
today, I think honestly, like, one of the worst ones that I had ever was maybe like today. Like I just did this invert, and like the way I landed, I just like got a face full of water. Like all I saw when I was looking down just the sand, and I just like when I got up, I was like just kind of confused. I was like, what the heck? I just slammed my face on the water so hard, like over the handlebars.
Wow.
It was rough.
Yeah. We've all been there. Okay, so moving on from that, you've been able to do some traveling with your family. In fact, this past winter, you got an invite to the pipe event. That was a pretty major deal.
Yeah,
right?
Super stoked. Thanks.
How did that happen?
I think, so originally I competed on the tour a couple times. I did 2 events, the Chile in 2023 and the Maldives in 2024, and maybe that got some attention, but also maybe I posted it on my Instagram. Not too often, but I think it's kind of a mix between the two. Yeah.
So they just emailed you and said, hey, we got an invite, a slot for you, and you were like, Mom and Dad, please let me go to Hawaii, right?
Please. Yeah. It was a trip of a lifetime, honestly.
Tell me about the trip. And was that your first time to the North Shore?
No, I went the year before.
Okay.
It was nothing like this year, honestly. I mean, just this past year, like the entire time the trip was pumping. Like, I think I was there for like 18 days, and I think there was like 3 days where the waves weren't big.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
And it was epic. I mean, it was a good run of surf on the North Shore, and Pipeline had a banner year, and you were there before the event, which was epic from all the video clips I saw, right?
Yeah, like I think it was about 2 days before the event, but like it was just like the biggest waves I've ever seen at Pipe.
Wow.
Like it was just something like brand new to me, and it was unreal.
So when you went out at Pipe, now you had been there the year before. Had you surfed Pipe the year before?
Yeah, it wasn't really like, I wouldn't really call it Pipe. It was just small, and like, I mean, it was nothing like this year.
Okay, so this year, when you got to the beach, you're looking at these insane waves, and there's a lot to take in out there. There's, obviously the big waves, but there's a massive crowd, and some of those guys have been surfing Pipe for decades, and you kind of like have to navigate your way through all that. How did you do that? Did you sit on the beach and watch other people paddle out? Did you ask some of your friends who are from Hawaii, like, what do we do here? Where do I jump in? How do I get out? How did you navigate all of that?
So I met a couple friends on the trip from 2024 earlier in the year. So I kind of knew, I was familiar with kind of who to look out for out there and like where my place was. And most of the trip I was just kind of sitting more off to the shoulder. But the way that the swells were coming that part of the year, there was plenty of waves there too. So got the best of both worlds.
So yeah, that's always a good way to start out. You just kind of sit off to the side. Occasionally a wave will shift over and you'll score. But I think something you just mentioned, it's so important at Pipeline and anywhere in Hawaii to really, know who's who out in the water, right? Because you have guys like J.O.B. and Nathan Florence, John Florence, and all these other guys that have been surfing Pipe all their life. And you don't want to get in their way or, drop in on them, God forbid. So it's really important to know, like, your place in the lineup. You could be the best guy in the world, but if you're not from there and you haven't put in your time there, you take leftovers and scraps. But you managed to score some really good ones, right?
Yeah, like, honestly, kind of throughout the trip, I think they held the surfing Pipe event for the World Tour, I think, about like 2 weeks before. So I think everybody was kind of leaving there. And there was still a crowd out at Pipe, but it was kind of just the guys that were out there. So like the guys that live there. So it was kind of like, it was more manageable.
Okay. Yeah, timing is everything also on the North Shore. I've found, like you just said, if you're there right after a contest and a lot of those guys are leaving, then you can score some sessions like that. Any other spots in Hawaii that you really like to surf other than Pipe? Did you put in some sessions anywhere else?
I surfed Rocky Point a good bit. It's like kind of when Pipe's like not really proper.
Yeah.
Rocky Point, just super fun, like nothing too crazy. But like just, you can still get ramps there, fun little barrels.
High performance wave without the ever-present threat of death. Like you have sometimes at Pipeline. So, let me ask you, as a young bodyboarder in California, there's not a lot of younger guys coming up the ranks, and there's no competition other than the Scholastic Surf Series. Why do you think that is? Do you have any theories as a 15-year-old why there's not more younger bodyboarders coming up the ranks? Because 20, 30 years ago, there were a lot. There were contests and the circuit, the BIA circuit, and we had a pro tour here 30 years ago. What's the reason? Do you have a theory on that?
I think I kind of have an idea of it. I would say a lot of the part is, like, for example, in Hawaii, like, every beach you go to, you see just young kids bodyboarding. And I think it's because just the type of waves there, it's a lot better suited for a bodyboard versus, most of the spots in Southern California, like, for example, Trestles, like, it's a surf wave, like, and I think that it's just better suited to surf around here, but, there is also a part of it that's, like, I think a lot of the younger kids also, they kind of, like, they see most of the people in the water are surfing, they're like, oh, I should be doing that. They don't really get, like, a true idea of, like what you can do with bodyboarding.
Yeah, I find that back in the days when there were magazines and stuff like that and guys putting out bodyboarding videos, that was an incentive for younger riders to get out there and, take up the sport and continue with the sport. Because, hey, I might get in the magazine, I might get on a video. and they would compete as well. But all of that's gone. It's all social media now. So how important to you is social media? You mentioned that you think you probably got some recognition to get invited to the pipe event based on your social media and obviously you doing some IBC events. Do you think social media is really the most important thing now for a young bodyboarder to get their profile up in the sport?
I'd probably say so because honestly, a lot of the people that I've met are through social media. Like I've hooked up with, like I've met some people in Hawaii, some friends, bodyboarders, and like just through social media, like you scrolling up and you're like, oh yeah, there's this kid in Hawaii that's like doing some crazy stuff. And I think that's also for younger guys. That's kind of it's kind of motivation to see like where your competitors are at.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Well, along those lines, you took it upon yourself to do a couple of IBC events. You started in Chile at the events down there. Tell me what prompted you, what inspired you to do that event. You did 2 events in Chile?
I did 1.
You did one, Antofagasta?
Yeah, Antofagasta.
And what prompted you to do that? Did you just think, hey, this is where the best guys are. This is where I need to throw my hat in the ring?
I think, yeah, that's probably why. And I saw like obviously the IBC does a good job about posting all their videos, their competitions. And I saw like all the grums, like, whoa, like this is super cool. Like just like the whole kind of vibe there. And I was doing pretty good in the California contests, but I kind of felt like, it's something new, like just go give it a shot. I mean, the worst that happens is like you're in Chile scoring waves.
Yeah.
So
yeah, a new place. And what did you get out of going down there? Like, what, you came back, and what did you think was the benefit of you going there to the IBC event?
Honestly, it just kind of gave me a whole new vision of like what's possible. Like, I think probably the best thing that I got out of it is I met a bunch of really cool people that now, like later on, everybody there that I met in Chile a couple years ago was in Hawaii. So it's kind of cool. You can reconnect with those people and, yeah, just meet people from all around the world.
That's networking, they call that. And you even got to be a part of the webcast, right?
Yeah.
And this guy, he's a killer on the webcast. I'm telling you, he may be a future commentator down the road many years when he retires, which is long, long in the future. And then you decided to go to the Maldives last summer.
Yeah.
And of course, I was there doing commentary, and I saw you out there again with the world's best. But at this point now, you had kind of made some connections in Chile, and you probably knew a few of those guys once you got to Maldives, right?
Yeah. I think also, like, yeah, with the Maldives, I mean, it's completely different than Chile. Chile is kind of just like, the waves are super cool, but there's not too much stuff to do around there.
Yeah.
Super cool place, like amazing people. But in the Maldives, it was just really different, like warm water, just surfing in board shorts.
Yeah.
The whole vibe there is just a bit different, but it's just super cool.
It's a different culture too, man. That place, Male, where the contest was for 3 years in a row, is like another world, right?
Yeah.
It's the traffic is crazy. The locals are super cool and friendly, and like you said, it's always nice to surf in trunks. And were you able to get out away from the island of Male and surf some other spots?
Yeah, we got to go to Cokes once after the competition window.
Yep.
And it wasn't big, just maybe like 4 foot, but like the wave, you can just see the potential of the wave there. Like, I mean, on a surfboard, I couldn't even imagine. Like, it looks perfect.
I know. Yeah, it was a fun drop knee wave. I loved Cokes the couple times I've been there. Okay, this is an inline edit here of the Real Deal show with Drake Kinghorn. I forgot to ask you, I mentioned at the top of the interview about your injury situation. So we talked about your Maldives campaign last summer, and you were in the middle of a heat, and you tweaked your knee.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
So I kind of took off on a smaller wave, and then when I went to stand up, like I got my left foot just stuck in a hole somehow. Like in the second, like I was like kind of walking back out, and then it just got stuck, and there was a wave right in front of me, and it kind of like twisted me the wrong way, and I just popped my knee out.
So how did you get out of the water?
I just had to kind of, I knew something was wrong with it, so I kind of just kicked my way off to the side. There wasn't, I wasn't doing too well in the heat. There was like maybe 6 minutes left, so I kind of knew either way, but I was still super bummed.
Yeah, I bet. Because after that, you were kind of on rehab for a while, right? You had to come back home, and what happened after you got back home with the injury?
I had to do lots of physical therapy for about two-ish months, and just couldn't surf. It was pretty rough, but
And your brother tweaked his knee too, right?
yeah. And he's so basically like first time he dislocated his knee, he was fine. He had to do some rehab. Happened the second time, and it was a bit more extreme. Not as not as bad as the third time, but third time it happened, like he just fully blew his knee out. Like a piece of his femur broke off.
Oh
from
my
when his knee came out,
God!
so
Is
he
this
had surgery.
is this like it was surfing? He did it
Yeah.
surfing. So is this a thing with the Kinghorns? You guys have knee issues?
Yeah.
Really? Is it because of your height? You think?
Yeah.
Really?
And, like where the kneecap sits, supposedly it's a bit shallow there, so it makes more movement for the kneecap to move around.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy, man. And one more thing though, you do a really dangerous sport. You do like mountain biking where you go off these horrendous jumps. I mean, you were ever worried you're just going to stack it and get injured?
Yeah, sometimes it hasn't happened yet, but like could happen at any moment. I think it's probably more likely there than the ocean, but you never know.
Well, that's when you're 15, you don't think about long-term damage because you don't really have to worry about that. You heal so quick, so more power to you. All right, so that was a fill-in about Drake's injury. I just wanted to throw that in there. Now back to the interview. So now, the IBC is split up into the Prime Series and they have the Rising Series. It's just been announced there's an event in Australia coming up for the Rising Series, for the juniors division, essentially. Any plans to do any future IBC, or are you going to kind of lay low and assess what you want to do with your bodyboarding in the future?
I think I'm not too sure about this year, honestly. I think I might just give myself another year to free surf, maybe go on a couple of free surf trips. I've been really wanting to go to Australia for a while now, and I think it's kind of high on my bucket list. So if I'm in Australia kind of the time of year I go and the contest rolls around, maybe I could see myself competing in that one, but I'm kind of just trying to plan my trips more around free surfing this year.
Yep. Now, are you trying to save money? Are you working at all to try to make some money to go on trips in the future?
Yeah, a little bit. Me and my buddy just started a window washing business a few weeks back, so we haven't had too much work with that, but we're gonna try to build it up this summer.
Yeah, get the word out, and your dad told me you've already had a few jobs. And that's like cash in hand, man. That's a good gig to have. And right now you're riding a Tanner board right here, but you're not sponsored by them, right?
No, just, I mean, the board's good for me. It's long and narrow, kind of like my body, and it just does everything I want it to. So it's pretty perfect.
So this is probably a good chance to say, if any of you out there watching this and manufacturers are interested in putting this guy in your team and maybe sending him off on some of these photo trips, now's your chance. Reach out to Drake through the comments. Excuse me, you can find him on social media. What is your Instagram? Tell the folks.
Drake_Kinghorn.
Okay, so there you go. That's on Instagram. Do you have a TikTok?
No, I'm
account?
not on TikTok.
No? Okay. Yeah, Instagram's kind of, a lot of people on Instagram, right? Easy to find people on there too. So, and you can also see some of his clips. And he has a YouTube channel with also some additional clips of him from last summer.
Yeah.
There's like a 3.5-minute video from last summer. You can kind of catch his highlight reel. Yeah, a montage of him too. And for your bodyboarding, obviously you're going to kind of work up to going on a few photo trips. What would you like to see yourself doing with bodyboarding, let's say 5 years from now? You'll be 20 years old.
Honestly, I just want to be having fun with it. Like wherever my progression goes, I mean, that's awesome. But I think just having fun with it, going on free surf trips, just meeting new people,
Yep.
you know, that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
That's it. I mean, that's where you can kind of enrich your life with travel. To me, that's the most fun part of bodyboarding.
for sure.
Going different places, learning and seeing new cultures, but also meeting people like you've been able to do with, your trips to the IBC and to the North Shore.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot more of that. And of course, on social media this summer, if you follow Drake, you're going to see some wedge clips happening this summer. We're already off to a really good start with the South Swell season.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had 2 really solid swells in the space of 2 weeks.
Yeah, really
and it's
early season.
only April.
Yeah.
So that bodes well for potentially a really good summer. Any sponsors that you have? Do you have anyone supporting you right now?
So I just have eBodyboarding supporting me, you know, super cool local board shop here in San Clemente. Yeah, come by if you want to buy anything here. And
Thanks, man.
Sure, Jane and Vicky will hook you up.
Excellent. So, yeah, this guy's an open book, man. So if any companies out there want to support Drake, he's certainly open to it. Anyone you want to thank? Any family, friends that you want to thank for where you are so far in your bodyboarding journey?
Yeah, I just want to thank my parents, first of all, for, you know, giving me the opportunity to go on all these trips. Just always supporting me from the beginning. And you guys, you know, always, I mean, I bought my first board from you guys a few years back. Now we're here.
Now, you and your brother came in, man, and you guys were like, I don't know, 5 feet tall. And this was probably 4 years ago, probably right around the pandemic time.
Yeah.
And now you've sprouted up and you're eating your parents out of house and home because you're so big. You got to eat a lot of food. And when you're 15, you eat a lot of food. You'll be driving soon, right?
Yeah, 6 months.
You'll be 15 and a half. You'll get your learner's permit, and then it's game on. You're going to be all over Southern California chasing every swell, I'm sure.
Can't
What
wait.
about school? You're doing online school, is that correct? Yeah.
I'm doing that at the moment. Great flexibility, you know, I get to go on a lot of trips.
Yep.
Still get to surf, get a good education.
Yeah, my son also does that for travel reasons as well. It's really good if you're self-disciplined and you can get the work done, which obviously you are. So, so folks, that is Drake Kinghorn's story. He is an up-and-comer in the sport of bodyboarding. We love to see young guys, come into the sport. There's not a lot in Southern California, but hopefully guys like you, Drake, can inspire younger riders to take up the sport and, grow the sport from the bottom up once again. So we wish you the best of luck in all your bodyboarding exploits. Yeah, man, we're stoked to have you in here. And that'll do it for this episode of The Real Deal Show. If you watched us on YouTube, give us the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and throw down some comments for Drake down below, and he can respond to them if you have any questions for him. And if you listened on the audio version of the podcast, hope you enjoyed that while you're doing your drive, doing your workout, or whatever it is you do when you listen to audio podcasts. I should have a script for this. I always say it. But folks, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for tuning in to The Real Deal Show once again. And on behalf of Drake Kinghorn and myself, Jay Reale, we will see you in the surf.